Senator Chuck Schumer's political career is hanging by a thread, and MAGA voters couldn't be happier. The View tried to publicly shame and humiliate Senator John Fetterman, but he boldly put them in their place. Alex Jones shares Data Republican's breaking story on NGOs' last-ditch effort to destroy America after USAID was wiped out by the Trump administration. By the way, last week you guys gave one of my videos over 55,000 likes, and we've added over 11,000 new subs to the community. So thank you guys so much. In the wake of the longest U.S. government shutdown in history, 40 days, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer faces a torrent of backlash from within the Democrat Party. On the 10th, 8 centrist Senate Democrats defied party lines, voting with Republicans to pass a continuing resolution to reopen the government without extending Obamacare credits. Now, these subsidies are worth up to $550 per person. It shields 20 million Americans from having a premium spike from big insurance. Chuck Schumer himself voted against it, but critics are lambasting him for failing to unify the caucus and extract concessions from President Trump. He's being deemed a colossal failure as a leader. Progressives and moderates alike are furious, viewing the cave-in as betrayal that hands Donald Trump a big win in healthcare. Now, House Democrats erupted. Ro Khanna said that Schumer is no longer effective and should be replaced. It's a vote of no confidence. Seth Moulton said if Schumer were an effective leader, he would have unified the caucus to vote no. And Mike Levin said Schumer has not met this moment. Senate Democrats should move on from his leadership. Over and over again, they call him a failure, 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 failure. Now, grassroots fury has amplified the situation. Indivisible launched a campaign urging voters to demand Senator Schumer be ousted and back only challengers who will fight against Donald Trump. Our Revolution, Joseph Girvegi fumed. Schumer should step down immediately. If he secretly backed this surrender, he is a liar. Now, many are saying that this group of 8, they wanted this over at day 14, but Schumer begged them over and over again, making lots of promises. But in the end, Trump won the war. Now, primary threats loom large, especially in Schumer's 2028 reelection. House member and New York Politico are nudging AOC to challenge Chuck Schumer, citing his age and perceived weakness and failure as a leader. 2026 Senate hopeful Graham Plantner seized the moment. This happened because Chuck Schumer failed yet again. We need leaders who fight. Now, the anger stems from deeper frustration. Schumer's second capitulation this year exposes a leader's inability to counter President Trump's hardball tactics. With no tangible wins, Democrats fear that they will lose the 2026 election. And they should, but Republicans are going to have to step it up. As one anonymous Democrat told Politico, Schumer lacked a long-term plan. He is the reason that we failed. Now, I'm sure AOC is drooling at the chance to unseat Chuck Schumer, or maybe the party continues to go more and more radical as 8 senior Democrats plan to retire. Nancy Pelosi is stepping down, and Chuck Schumer will likely lose his election. Now, most of this is over health care. Hakeem Jeffries, however, keeps trying to label Obamacare as a Republican health crisis. However, Congressman Tim Burchett, he saw right through this and pointed it out in a recent interview. Let me go ahead and show that to you right now.
Are quick at work right now, talking to the Democrat leadership that gets their campaigns funded by these insurance companies. And I sure hope it works. I think that meteorite that hit the Gulf of America millennia ago that wiped out the dinosaurs is Trump care, and it's going to wipe out the dinosaur that's Chuck Schumer. I think Schumer's days are numbered, as everyone else does. I think AOC will take him on in the primary and beat him like a drum.
Yeah.
They're saying that if Republicans can do healthcare right, lower people's costs, provide better insurance, bring a better plan to the table, the Democrats, they're in big trouble. And I really hope that they can. They have voted 70 times to remove Obamacare, but have been unsuccessful. So like Chuck Schumer's failures, the Republicans need some wins as well. So soon Chuck Schumer will be gone. And as much as I cheer that on, I do worry about who might fill his space. Are we going to get AOC? Are we going to get another Mamdani? Let me know in the comments what you think about this. Well, we know it won't be Senator John Fetterman. Not only is he from Pennsylvania, but he's also being threatened with removal. Senator Fetterman had the courage to go on The View, and each of the hosts took turns trying to shame him, humiliate him, bully him. But in the end, he knows what he stands for, and he actually listens to his voters. Listen to what he had to say.
It was a horrific mistake. Governor Gavin Newsom called it pathetic and a surrender. Poll after poll found more Americans on both sides of the aisle blaming Republicans. Even Marjorie Taylor Greene blamed the GOP. As you mentioned, Democrats had big wins last week, so you had momentum. Why give in now? Why bring a butter knife to a gunfight? Are you willing to gamble that the GOP will negotiate on health care in good faith once the government reopens? Because if that gamble is wrong, 500,000 Pennsylvanians that you represent, their health care costs will skyrocket if you are wrong. And I believe you are wrong.
See how she is saying, Gavin Newsom says you're a failure. The Democrat Party says you're a failure. Your own voters are going to call you a failure. Listen to his rebuttal.
Well, first of all, MTG is quite literally the last person in America that I'm going to take advice or to get their kinds of my leadership and values from. And now if Democrats are celebrating crazy pants like that, then that's on them. And now I don't need a lecture. I don't need a lecture from whether it's Bernie or the governor in California, because they are representing very deep blue kinds of populations. And a lot of those things were part of the extreme. And now remember, what really needs to win, the big win, is involving my state and other states in those things. And why have we arrived here after the election a year ago? We got to forget some of the things that cost us that election. Or now, for me, it's like, that's why I'm trying to remind people that kinds of the extremism, we can't return to those kind of things and realize we need to find a way forward. And I would like to, rather than cite MTG, I'm going to cite one of the new governor-elects saying that my election is not a green light to continue the shutdown, because I promise you, this isn't a political game. It is viewed by many of us, but the reality is 42 million Americans now not sure where their next meal is going to come from, and because we vote like that, or people that haven't been paid for 5 weeks now, and that kinds of chaos. Those workers have to borrow more than $500 million, from their credit union just to pay their bills now. So for me, we're in the middle of this.
All right. He makes some really great points there. He said, listen, being too radical and too to the left is why we lost the election. It's the very reason that Donald Trump won. And you're now begging me or shaming me into going further to the left. This isn't how we win elections. We've got to come up with better ideas. And I think that John Fetterman is actually very right on that. He is somebody that has really shocked me. Let me know what you guys think about what Senator Fetterman said there. Now, even though the Democrat Party is going through serious turmoil and backlash, they are not beat, and Republicans need to do more. Democrats have taken control of the Jeffrey Epstein scandal narrative and have embarrassed Trump and the Republicans simply by not taking a vote to release information. Democrats have embarrassed Republicans with the longest shutdown in our country's history. Democrats are taking the White House idea of a 50-year mortgage and saying Trump is an idiot, that he wants to enslave the American people to debt and enrich his banker friends. So anything that they can, they are grabbing this narrative and they are cramming it down the throat of more than half the country. So Republicans must do better. Now, Trump needs to get out in front of these stories and come up with some ideas that actually move the needle on kitchen table issues like food prices, house prices, rent prices, gas prices, student loan debt, and out of control high interest rate credit card debt. The economy is always the most important issue, and the stock market isn't the economy. The rich will always be rich, and they will continue to buy up assets. But middle class and lower income families, they're just trying to figure out how to keep the lights on and food on the table. This is who you must focus on. Now, one area many Republicans are focusing on is finally coming up with a better alternative and a more affordable option than Obamacare. Obamacare is a piece of crap. Now, the main hurdle, however, will be that big insurance isn't going to want to charge less. They aren't going to want to make less money. And many Democrats are funded by big insurance. So this is going to be a fight to the death unless they come up with a really good idea where the Democrats can look good and the Republicans can look good. But if they try to just shame and humiliate them, we're going to hit gridlock and nobody's going to get anything done. But listen to what was said by Senator Roger Marshall about the new health care plan that they have been working on.
Let's take that $150 billion we're giving insurance companies, give about a third of that back to patients, to consumers, to set up their own healthcare savings accounts. Beyond that, there's work to be done with roll back the PBMs when it comes to prescription drug prices. Trump RX is going to be something else that'll work. We can expand access to association healthcare plans, to ministry plans as well. We want to set up high-risk pools, reinsurance pools in every state as well. So there's a lot of things we can do. These are not new concepts. Speaker Johnson and I have been working on this together for years.
So, well, you've been working on it for years, but is there like a comprehensive plan that people could look at and decide whether or not they think it's something that Republicans should pass?
We'll have something within that when we'll have a side-by-side bill when they come out, when they get their vote on Obamacare subsidies, giving more.
You're going to have a health care bill by the second week of December?
We will. We've been working on this very, very hard for several years. And again, Speaker Johnson and I have done one several years ago, but we'll get a new one, getting it together. We're bringing the pieces together just like I discussed. Again, taking $150 billion rather than giving it to big insurance companies. Let's empower patients, make them consumers again.
All right. So they've got an uphill battle, but maybe it's time to give money to the people and not to the insurance companies, because under Obamacare, if they raise their prices every year, they get a percentage of that. And so they just get to extract more money out of the government, which means more money out of you. So why not empower the people versus empowering the insurance companies? So I'll keep you updated on that. That could be a really big thing, and I hope that it will be. All right, now I hope Republicans will fix out of control medical spending, out of control insurance costs, because healthcare is crippling Americans' budgets, and it's the #1 cause of bankruptcy in America. But when it comes to our health, we have to take our journey in our own hands and do things that are going to make us healthier. I found something wild about coffee. Studies show that within an hour, it can make your arteries go stiff like copper pipes. When that happens, you lose the flexibility you need for things like running or biking. But scientists found that giving older mice NMN for 12 weeks made their arteries elastic again, a 60% reversal, like turning 60-year-old arteries into 25-year-old ones. Published in Cell Journal, the study showed NMN activates eNOS, boosting nitric oxide so your blood cells literally act younger. Listen to what Harvard professor David Sinclair explained about it.
Of the people that I know that look freakishly and unusually young for their age, that I have met in, say, the last 36 months, I cannot get over how many of them have told me that I'm on NAD and I'm on metformin. And I'm talking about everywhere from a gym to a golf course to a business meeting. And I'm talking about visually, shockingly looking young people, mainly people in their 50s that look like they could be in their 30s or early 40s to me. So when you say NAD, do you believe in the IV therapy? Do you believe in the stuff you can inject with subcutaneously? Or are you speaking specifically about this precursor that you were referencing?
Well, what I believe doesn't so much matter, but the scientific evidence points to taking a supplement every day, a gram NMN, which is this precursor, stands for nicotinamide mononucleotide for the aficionados. Just swallowing one of those, or 1,000 milligrams, is enough to double your.
Now, you pay $5 for coffee that actually hardens your arteries. Here's what you should be drinking instead. Longevity Coffee, the world's first coffee that supports your arteries, boosts nitric oxide, and helps you feel younger from the first sip. It's powered by NMN to restore elasticity, plus glutathione, vitamin D3 and K2, TMG, and magnesium glycinate, all in one 10-in-1 formula. Instead of buying a dozen supplements, you just drink this. Longevity Coffee, real science, 1 cup that makes your body feel younger from the inside out. And listen, Black Forest is offering 50% off launch day deal. It's only available for the next 48 hours, and it's the lowest price I've ever seen. But after November 15th, this deal is done. So ditch the overpriced drive-through coffee. You're paying $7 every morning. This is 10 times cheaper, 10 times better, and it will actually keep your arteries and body youthful. Click that link down below because after 48 hours, the 50% deal is over. All right, Alex Jones shared a bombshell discovery from Data Republican. She's somebody that I've been following over on X. And she's pointed out how the NGOs, before they lost their fraudulent USAID money, built an off-the-grid communication network in order to keep raising money, to come up with ways to get money out of the government so that they can continue to try to destroy the United States of America. Let me share that with you because very, very interesting.
And now we have Zoom videos being released of senior State Department talking about how they're using USAID money to fund foreign intelligence agencies and NGOs to attack President Trump and his supporters. Now, we have the documents, and we known about this, and I was the first to break this almost 9 years ago, literally. But we had the general programs and how they were operating because we knew their standard operating procedure and had key sources. But in the last 5 years, and particularly the last year, and now with Doge, we have the emails and documents and so much more. But there's nothing like having the video of it. There's nothing like having them talk about it. Leaked call exposes State Department-backed color revolution, that's a close quote, with global partners, ex-USAID staff admit coordinating encrypted networks with foreign NGOs against Trump administration, and just more and more of this is coming out. Leaked call exposes State Department-backed color revolution with global partners, ex-USAID staff admit coordinating encrypted networks and foreign NGOs agencies against Trump administration. Let's play those 2 clips back to back.
Is happening. I think we're still in the figuring that out phase, but I do think 22nd century will be a great place to build those connections. I know Johns Hopkins is also working to bridge international domestic democracy, conflict mitigation spaces, and to Hochul's point, actually just bringing in, we don't have to be intermediaries either. We can bring in actors or colleagues from around the world who have dealt with this directly, very specific issue sets, whether that's on tackling corruption or how to respond to corruption, mobilizing around corruption. We can bring those folks in and kind of be those facilitators.
By the way, hit pause real quick. Look at the 2 guys in the second to the top row. They have the UN World Economic Forum ESG list behind them, part of it. I mean, that's Build Back Better, folks. That is the Great Reset. This is literal global governance. All right, let's continue looking look at these chip on their shoulder, loon-bat leftists, academics, USAID, State Department. Look at these people. This is the people scheming around, directing billions in NGOs that are really foreign intelligence agencies to target Trump and his supporters. Here it is.
I think those coordination structures are just starting to take place. And, Walt, I think
international side, certainly our USAID community has very close relationships with locals across the entire world and have worked globally on global trends, global authoritarianism. This movement right now, we're very much framing it as an anti-authoritarian movement in the U.S., But dependent, you know, the authoritarians are networked globally, and this has our movement, our very movement that we're talking about right now, has the potential to ultimately be a global anti-authoritarian movement given our networks.
Yeah, so they're the resistance. And remember, Obama said, oh, we're going to focus now on Europe with money because they're really directing it back here to attack us. All right, just a little snapshot.
So basically, these groups that were milking USAID, they still are flush with billions and billions of dollars that the Trump administration has not been able to go in and extract or recover. And so now, because they don't have the taxpayer-funded fraud money, they're openly saying, we're reaching out to foreign nations that are willing to secretly work with us to take down Trump and his authoritarian regime. Breaking news, the Supreme Court will take up the case of Watson versus Republican National Committee, which will decide if mail-in ballots received after Election Day can be counted. At least 18 states allow this, including Nevada, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and 15 others. So they're going to decide, wait a minute, is Election Day, or is it actually election week? Now, let me know in the comments, do you think that ballots that come in 2 days, 3 days, 5 days, 10 days later should be counted? I don't think so. I think that this is what happened under Biden. They ended up counting for 5 days, a week. Arizona took over a month. And every area where they continued to count mail-in ballots that they were finding all went to Democrats. So I'm grateful that the Supreme Court is going to look at this. I hope that it will go in our favor. If not, then we're just going to have to lean into mail-in ballot and ballot harvesting and beat them at their own game. All right, I love you guys. Stay amazing. Give this video a like, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you on the next one.